No, so once you click on it'll go away. So it says reloaded, so you just gotta reload that page. No, on that other page, if you wanted, so where you were, if you wanted this to pop up again, you would just reload the page. Yeah. Like, you already have that open, so you don't need to do that, you just have it in the other tab. But hopefully, yeah, the question for you after class will come back to you. Give everybody a couple minutes just that are just coming in to load your laptop and go to the front page. I want to walk through the technology and get you guys exposed to it, show you guys the assignments. Typically on Friday, we'll do some data analytics and some of the homework stuff. There are some chapters that don't have data analytics questions, so those days we won't have data analytics questions to do. I am thinking about doing, depending on how the attendance shows up today, doing this on Zoom, but we'll see how that works out. Right now I've got good attendance, so that's good. So if you've done the homework that's due today, I'm not going to duplicate much of it. I just want to show you kind of some things and show you some tips. Now, for us, I know you guys are getting a lot of email right now, and I send out a lot of announcements early on. So I apologize. I know it's difficult for you guys. The one thing that I do, if rather than trying to check through and thumb through 1,000 email announcements, you can just go to the page and you can see the last 3 announcements and say, okay, did I know that? Did I not know that? That's on the home page, right? So those 3 are there. I put the solutions for the data analytics questions up there because for our purposes, what I want you guys to do and see is not to struggle with the data analytics questions, but to be exposed to data analytics, to kind of see how accountants use them and to see how we would use it in class, okay? So that's why I put the solutions to the data analytics problems in the announcements. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to do it on your own first and practice once you get the hang of it. But because I'm not teaching data analytics in the class, I'm not going to be grading you based on your ability to do data analytics. The answers are out there. If you decide you don't care and you want to go in and you want to plug the answers in, that's up to you. It's more advanced than we would normally get into in this course. But the problem is that up until recently, we didn't have a data analytics course, so we decided to sprinkle a little data analytics in all the classes so that you guys will get some here where it's no pressure, right? You don't get graded on it, the answers are out there, so you can easily get 100 on that part of your grade, okay? So that's why data analytics is in the class, because it's important to business, it's important to accounting, and but why I'm not testing it on you, because I don't have, because what I have to teach has to be taught in accounting. We don't have time for the data analytics part, but I want you guys to see it, get exposed to it. So as you guys start to see it in class, you'll know, hey, Excel is important, data analytics are important. And I've kind of got exposure to 2 different systems on how to do that. Okay. So Typically, you'll find your assignments here. And the first one is an adaptive assignment. And the adaptive assignment, oh, it's locked. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to lock anybody out. That's good. Thank you. So the adaptive assignments are designed to be done prior to class for that specific chapter. And so it's basically like, can you read and did you understand what happened in the chapter? So click on it. It loads up. And then click start assignment. Now it's going to ask you if you want to check your prior knowledge, you submit for grading, save and exit are down there. It says allow about a half an hour. It kind of gives you what they call pretest, you know, have you read? The reason it gives you a pretest is because if you get things wrong, it will later on ask you additional questions related to that to hopefully kind of fine tune your learning. So this is the type of AI that sort of helps you learn. So let's just look at this. It says it has total assets of 5 million-ish beginning of the year and 5.7 million at the end of the year. If net income during the year is 564,900, what is its return on assets? So you take your average of these two and you would divide it into that number. Put the calculator here for a second. You don't need to do this, by the way. Divide that by 2 to get the average. It'd be 564,000. Okay. 900 and then divided by 10%. And then just click to go to the next question. If you need to get out of there, you just save and exit. So these are just some questions to see. Can you do some of the basics in the chapter? There's nothing really hard here. The head of an accounting department in the company. Answer. So this is straightforward. Like I said, they give you a pretest designed to do your comprehension. If you were to just click through this and get all of them wrong, it'll give you a whole bunch of questions on the back end. If you've read through the chapter, you kind of know the answers to these questions. When you get it right, there'll be hardly anything on the other end. So are there any questions about the adaptive assignment? Okay. If you go through the adaptive assignment and you finish it, you're going to get 100. It asks you, you know, if you want to go back in and do it again, because it is practice, it will allow you to continue to do that. Sometimes if you go into it before the due date, if you don't finish it, it'll give you the wrong grade. So just keep an eye on it. If you practice after the due date, there's no problem. Right. Oh, by the way, I wanted to show you. This is what I was talking about with our Canvas assignments versus in Cengage. So these all have, you know, your specific due dates in the calendar. Here, these are the due dates that you have to go by, or the due dates in the schedule. Because we have so many different people in the class, there are sometimes accommodations needed. And so these are set up now by basically what area of the thing of we're studying based on the exam. So the first 4 chapters, the next 4 chapters, but the due dates don't match up. So you have to go by the due dates in Cengage, or excuse me, in Canvas. Okay. Right now, the homework, this is not due, but we can work on it. Sometimes my questions will be slightly different than yours, but the numbers should be the same. And here you can take out and follow along and do your homework. Just get that populated. Okay. So it's asking, given the following list of accounts, determine the total assets. So these are the types of questions that you're going to see on the homework quantitative. So we have to look and say, okay, what do I think are assets? So I'm going to give you a minute before I go through, kind of check the ones in your mind that you think are assets, and we'll go through in a minute, and I'll give you the answer or give it my best shot. Okay, let's talk about this one. So what is accounts receivable? Accounts receivable is we've sold something to a customer. That customer has agreed to pay us within a certain amount of time. So that is an asset. All right, cash. Cash is an asset. Common stock. Common stock is part of equity. And what you should be thinking about when you think about this is, okay, so where do these go? Kind of asset plus liability. Or, I'm sorry, asset equals liability plus equity, and then where do these accounts go under here? Right? Equipment is an asset. You're going to use that to produce revenue. Fees earned. Fees earned is revenue, it is not an asset. Miscellaneous expense, rent expense, retained earnings, salaries expense, and wages expense. Retained earnings is, don't let it close all the way, please. Sorry, it's just locked and I don't want it to be locked out. And then so retained earnings is part of equity. So what do we have? We have accounts. Okay. So we have the three numbers at the top.
So $55,000 or 55,300.
So we got 55,000, but we also have this asset here, the equipment, right? So these are, I'm sorry, I got the wrong numbers. 10,000 plus the 25 plus the 16,800 is the number that we want, not the common stock. So we've got 26,800 plus 25,300, so was that 52,100? Okay, and then if you wanted to, you can check your work, that's correct. So we go ahead to the next one. Use the following information to determine total stockholders' equity. So we have total assets, 85,000. Total liabilities, 21,000. And then it gives us retained earnings, which is part of equity. Right, and so it's asking what is the total that you have for stockholders' equity. So you just subtract the 21 from both sides.
And then the nine as well.
Not the 9 yet. So we have 64K equals equity, right? And we know part of that is our retained earnings. which is 9,000. And we know part of that is paid in capital. Sorry, paid in capital. Which would be related to stock, right? So here we have the 64,000 figure. And that is correct. Any questions? Go ahead.
So, the total change revenue, when something like, don't know.
Well, no, they mean a lot. You know, here our retained earnings is 9,000. For our purpose for this question, though, it's part of that total that they want. They want this total for stockholders' equities. This is a part of stockholders' equity. So we know it's 64,000. That tells me that my stock is 55,000. Okay, so it's informative. It's just not useful for our question. Got another one. Let's take a look at a little more challenging one. So I skipped number 3. I'm jumping to number 4. You still will be responsible for doing number 3. It's just, you know, straightforward. During the most recent year, Benigo Corporation experienced an increase in assets of 72,600 and an increase in total liabilities of 40,900. I'm going to do this on screen. Okay. So we have assets equal liabilities plus my equity. Okay. So it says during the most recent year, experienced an increase in the assets of 72,600. An increase in total liabilities of 40,900. Assuming that common stock increased by 5,000. So we have common stock, which is part of equity, right? And then you have retained earnings. So this one went up 5,000. And no dividends were paid. Calculate Benigo's net income or net loss for the end of the year. So you know your assets equal your liabilities plus your equity. And so here for us, the change is going to be equal to our net income or our change in retained earnings. So we have, we're going to subtract out now 40,900 minus 40,900. And we get 31,700. Zero and the 5,000. I'll subtract out the 5,000. Get 26,700 for our net income. Any questions? Now you're going to see some that are called Excel algo problems. And basically this means that what I'm looking at or what your neighbor is looking at, you're gonna see slightly different numbers, but the formulas and the questions should be essentially the same. And so with these Excel spreadsheet questions, you have to open the spreadsheet. And it says, okay, determine stockholders' equity of each company. So we got assets, liabilities. And so here it wants us to put in our formulas. And then it wants to put in our amount, so assets minus your liabilities. GameStop assets minus your liabilities. So we want to put those numbers back in here. Keep in mind your numbers may be different. So there. Okay, and then this is another similar one that you'll use. Again, I'm not going to do this one for you. And then it says all work saved. If you wanted to come back and do it later, you'd save and exit. Otherwise, you would submit the assignment for grading. Okay. Any questions about the homework? Click on that assignments tab. Now we're going to go down to the data analytics homework. Click on chapter 1. We're going to go ahead and load chapter 1. And what I do is I come back to this other screen. Mine opens in a different one, and I click on the announcements. And you're going to find chapter 1 data analytics question solution. And this is going to help us get through this series of questions. So this is just the first one. We'll go to the next announcement for the second one. Okay, so take a second to read this. Basically, it's a data analytics one. And so we're going to see how we're going to set it up. Data analytics, all it is having data, trying to ensure that it is fairly reliable, setting it up in some format with some technology that will help you analyze the data. That's all data analytics is. We shouldn't be afraid of it. It's just the problem is every company does it with different technologies, right? About 80% of the companies out there do it with Excel, and then the others vary. Okay, so hopefully you've had time to read that. What you want to do is you want to open the spreadsheet. And it gives you some information. Okay. And then it tells you, okay, select a cell in the data on the data worksheet. Okay. Right, S1, select a cell in the data on the worksheet. Number 2, select insert pivot table. So I'm going ahead and I'm inserting a pivot table. Is anybody, did I hear somebody lost? Are we good? Don't mind if you are, I'll come over and help you.
So does the cell we pick, does it matter? Or does
What about it?
so does the cell we select matter? Or
No, so whatever one you select, it doesn't matter. My data will give you the same range as your data.
got a little lost. Where we
I'm coming. Okay, So go to the data analytics chapter 1. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes. Right. Plus, and so that's where we are. So then click on that, it's going to open up in another screen, and we have to go back to kind of see the instructions. But for now, the first instruction was just click anywhere on it. And then click insert. And then click pivot. And that's where we are right now. Okay. Anybody else need a little nudge in the right direction? So this pops up. And what I always do is I just kind of scroll down to make sure all of my data is contained. And so we see my last line is 294. And my last row or my last column is D. So what I see here is I've got B through D, and I've got all the way down to 293. So I know that it's complete. And so I can go ahead and click on a new worksheet if that's not clicked for you. If it is, that's where you want it. And then you're going to click OK. And it's going to pop up something along this line. Anybody not able to make to this part? Okay. So then here's where the instructions.
I was just gonna ask if there's a way to open this in the desktop app instead of on the web, because every time I open it, it's just a teeny tiny.
Oh, yeah. No, but you should be able to adjust your browser size. If that doesn't work, let me know. I'll have to have a talk with IT and see what is the way. Okay, is everybody able to get to this part? Okay, so now here is where kind of the instructions, we're going to use those, all right? So it says for question 1, we're trying to answer now. Mine has the answer up here. It says, what is the total amount of all assets? And so we want to say in the pivot table field, add elements to the rows area. So we take this one and we drag it to the rows area. Add amounts to the values area. And it says, so sum of amounts appears. Okay, and so I've got sum of amounts. Now keep in mind where it says sum of amounts, if you need to change that, you come down here, you right click on it, or excuse me, left click on that down arrow and the value field settings. It asks us to put in there sum, but it will also do counts. It will do averages, maximum, minimums. You can put formulas in there as well, okay? All right, so we've got those two parts, and then it says, in the pivot table, use the drop-down arrow on rows labeled to select filter and check the box for assets only. So on the rows label, right, we don't need to do this, right? We know what the assets are, right? Whatever your asset number is, that's the answer. It wants you to, it's assuming if you had 15,000 pieces of data here and it were a little confusing for you, you can filter it. You click on that down arrow, click filter, and then you could select asset only, but it doesn't change anything, right? So there's no need to go through that extra step. Okay. And so again, I know this kind of feels like, hey, I'm just doing this to do it, but it actually is, because it's trying to make you comfortable with this process. So that once you start to learn this and once you do your Excel in your classes, if you're in accounting, you have an Excel module that's sort of outside of the normal class things. So getting to use Excel, starting to play with these pivot tables will really benefit you in your career. All right. So that's how I got my answer, 25, 545. Again, your number may be different. You would take that number, and I forgot what window I'm in, and you would plug that number in there. Okay, now question 2 says, what is the amount of all liabilities? Now we know I filtered that. I'm just going to go back to leaving it because here I'm just going to take my liabilities, 13,912. We can see that's my answer. Okay.
The software's equity is running.
Correct. So all 3 of those go right into here in order. And again, like I said, your numbers may be slightly different than mine. Right, and then the 4th question says, what is the total amount on the right side of the accounting equation? So here we have our accounting equation. Right, and on the right side is just my liabilities plus my equity. So for this question, it wants you to go ahead and select it again and select just those 2. But Excel has a little trick if you want to add something up. If you just highlight them both, you can do it 2 ways. You can just click on it, click shift and the down arrow, whatever box you want to go. And what it does is it gives you a little sum in the corner, right? Now, did we have to go through the process and add that up? No, because what we had here was it said assets were 25,545, and then liabilities are 13,912. And then the equity is 11633. So when it asked, what is this total? It should absolutely equal this. So we could have just put the asset number in there again, if the asset number was correct. Okay. Go ahead.
So under assets, liability and stockholders equity, there was that grand total.
Correct.
So is that just like, doesn't really matter?
Correct. For this, there's no grant, there's nothing, it serves no purpose here. What they wanted you to do though, is they want you to use it and go filter and then say, okay, now I'm taking out the assets. What are my liabilities plus my stockholders equity? I mean, it can be used. So it's not that it's not useful. It's just,
Gotcha.
it's because we use small data sets, a lot of times all the pieces aren't necessarily going to help us. Okay. Any questions on that first data analytics question? Again, I do these in class and I want you to go along with me and do them so that you get full credit for them. Go ahead.
Just the last for question 4, so it's finished, so you added the kind of software as easier, or you just skip it back. Yeah, so.
Correct.
I apologize something, but you know, like, it's like the grand total, you know, it's impact.
Yeah, I think a couple people did stuff. Okay, all right, now we're going to the second one. And so this is about statement of cash flows. Take about a minute to read that first part and then I'll pop open the spreadsheet and we'll start talking about that.
Yeah. But also talking about so what happens to the Excel file after we leave the question?
So it kind of disappears in Neverland. I don't know if it saves or not. I think it does save.
Okay, I thought that was like.
The new one will pop up when you click on the new one, but once you change the question, it goes poof. Okay, so hopefully everybody's had enough time to read it. We're gonna be looking at cash flows. And so we go ahead and click on the spreadsheet. And we're looking at what is question one, which staff person had the highest amount of stock issuances for their clients combined? But first, we've got to finish up the spreadsheet, and it gives you the information to do that. Right, gives you the formula. So we want to go out to cash flows and operating activities. And then we want to plug in this formula. Should be able to copy and paste it right in there. It's right here.
Oh, okay.
You should be able to copy and paste it right into there.
Posted this discussion post, or is that not a discussion?
This is not a discussion post. This is the homework.
No, like where you get all that.
Yes, it is.
Okay, because I can't find it.
You can't find it in announcements? Look in announcements. I'm sorry. Yeah. My apologies.
Sorry.
Oh, good. We're good. Okay. So then now it says the requirement for cell Q4 to calculate cash flows and remove investing activities is to take L4 minus M4. So control C. Your numbers again may be different than mine because this is algorithmic. So you may get slightly different numbers, but your formulas are going to be exactly the same. Now for R4, I'm just going to copy these in. And then it says increase or decrease in cash. And we just want to sum up our totals. Right there. And so you can see that formula, your formula will be the same. Plus sum P4 colon R4 close brackets. When you type formulas into Excel, it tries to help you. So in the last one in T, requirement 4, P4 to insert a 1 if there's net cash flow. So they want you to use the if function. But if you want to type it in, it'll show you kind of if, okay, and then I put the first part of parentheses in, and it actually guides you through the formula. Tells you that this if is a logical test, and that usually the example goes like, if something is greater than something, give me this or give me that. So what we want to do is give this logical test, tell it what to say or provide us, and then what happens if that's wrong. Okay? So if Q4 is less than 0, comma, give us a 1. Otherwise, give us 0. And then we close the parentheses. So everybody with me so far? I've got a few more minutes. Okay, there's a couple ways to copy these down to the other cells. What I do is, if you put your cursor on this first one, Okay, and then I hit the shift button and then I right arrow over until all of them are highlighted. And then if you move your cursor carefully over to the corner, it'll form a cross like that. Not the fat one, the thin one. Okay, and then you just drag it down till you reach the end of your numbers.
Can you also double click on that?
There are lots of ways to do it. Some people just double click on it and it copies right down. You can also hit Control C and then arrow down or move over and go down, whatever you prefer based on your level of Excel knowledge. All right, and here, I know that I'm going to be doing a pivot table with it, so I'm just gonna pay attention. My last little bit of data is on line 253 there, so now I don't have to scroll down again. I just do a quick look over and see if my numbers make sense, right? So let's look at that first one. Summarizes to negative 9170, it's good. I'll look at my formula, that works out. I feel comfortable about that, okay? Now it wants us to do, click on anyone and go ahead and insert your pivot table. Okay. Now, if you need to get back to that data because you forgot to answer those questions, you just go back, click on that, and you can go back and answer your questions because typically speaking, they're going to ask you what is it in each cell. So now we have to go back P4, Q4, R4, and S4 and T4. So I'm taking my information directly off that top row, minus 61,110. Q4. Go ahead and take yours. Remember to put it in as a negative, it's a negative number. 9170. And then the last one. So P4. 0. And check my work.
After which now, it was more work.
Yeah, there is more work below, but I'm just doing it for now, just to make sure that we're good. Gives you 10 check my work, so you can use them like this, and I encourage you to do so. So hopefully you had yours, you checked, the numbers come out good. All right. Now this tells you how to create the pivot table. We already did that. And so now we have the questions. Which staff person had the highest amount of stock issuances for their clients combined? So now we got to come down and go to what says question 1. Keep in mind, I've changed to question number 2 announcement. Okay. Now I want to go back over to my Excel or my pivot table. So I click at the bottom. I click back over to sheet 1 and it's got my pivot table. Now, a couple things to notice. If you move out of the pivot table, your instructions may disappear. Don't panic. Just move it in. All right. If you also do any calculations here, sometimes when you are using the pivot table, now you go back to do the pivot table and it says, okay, question 1, add staff member to the rows area. And then it says add issuance of stock to the values area. In a cell outside the pivot table, use the max function to return the highest amount of stock issuances by staff person. So there's a couple ways you can do this. We want you to use the max function. So we want to do equal max. And then bring up your first parentheses. Now I use the arrow keys. I arrow over to the top one. And then I just hold the shift key and I arrow down. So I have all of them highlighted. And then I close the parentheses. And so it's 2795, and so that's Mark Rado for me. You may have somebody different. Yes, sir.
Sorry, what, when we did max, what, two, box numbers are we supposed to put? in that?
You wanna highlight the numbers in your sequence wherever they popped up.
At max.
Yeah, okay, so now use your arrow keys. And you can use your, if you're a mouse person, you can use them. You wanna hit the shift button. And then, there you go, and then now just close it, shift and parentheses and hit enter.
Alright.
Okay, anybody need help with question number one? Everybody good? Okay, so now it says question two, what was Payneville Corporation's beginning cash balance if its ending was 305,570? So for question two, now it gives us the instructions. We want to click back on it and it'll pop up. Now we want to uncheck these because we're starting over. Okay, and we want to move the company to the rows area. I'm following this instruction right here. And we want to add increase, decrease to cash values to the sum of increase, decrease appears below. And so now mine, sometimes, by the way, these instructions will have the wrong company. So make sure the company matches. Mine happens to match here, but at times it has not before. And what they're saying is use the filter. Okay, so I click on company because I want to sort by that, and then I click filter. I want to deselect all. And sometimes they're in order, sometimes they're not. However you see them here, that's how they'll show up. So if you want to put them in order first, that's more helpful. So this one says, Payneville. Yeah, well, so I select Payneville, make sure you select your corporation. I click OK. And it gives me my total. So I just plug my totals in. Any questions on that one? Question number 3. Then we want to remove what's out there.
Could we only see company?
Sorry?
Could we only see, never mind, could we only see company since it's mentioned again?
Well, you could. Yeah, you definitely can. Go ahead.
How do you get that pivot table box to pop back up?
You got to go back over to where it's showing the pivot table. So you got to go back over into like A2 or A3 or A4. I'm clicking it and it's not.
Hey, did you guys check the rooms?
We didn't have to do that one. No. So how do you go? It was asking you based on. Oh, it should have given you the name right next to, so I did the 34.
Oh, wait.
19, and so it's.
Okay, I didn't read that one. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Oh, because you didn't copy it. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I didn't. These are- Two cents. And I will finish that in 1 second. I know we are packing up, so if you need to go, you are welcome to go. Otherwise, it'll be done in 1 second. Okay, so now we're on to number 3. What was the original cost of the investment that the Meji Corporation sold? Apologize if you're from Minnesota. I just screwed that up. Add company to the Rose area. Add sale investments values. So that the sum of sale appears, and then add gain or loss on the sale. So that sum of gain or loss appears. So now we want to switch and we want to filter again. We want to, I usually to clear that other one off so I don't have to scroll all the way down, just select and deselect. And then I want the Meiji company. And that gives me the information that I need here. And so it says in the pivot table, use the drop down rows filter, calculate. And so I want to know my value. And I just add those two together and I got 129,040. And then for the last one, I'm gonna go ahead and just use this company. For the last one. It says add company to the rows area. Add sale investments to the values area. No, I'm reading the wrong one. Right. Question 4 down here at the bottom. Add staff member to rows area. Add investing cash outflow to the values area, so the sum is. Use the drop down arrow on the rows to check boxes for Ratto and Bradley. And so I have Ratto and Bradley. And it says check boxes Ratto and Bradley, include a grand total row, and so mine add up 21 and 19, I get 40.
Oh, what did you put in rows again?
Sure. The staff members. Okay, now I apologize, I ran a little bit over. Question 5 is always a multiple choice, kind of comes out of the chapter that you guys can do. And you guys should be able to pick up on how to do number 3. If you have any questions, let me know. Absolutely. Take care. If anybody needs any help and wants to stay for a few minutes, I'm here, so. So that's because you have something in, so I was trying to produce it here, I couldn't just put that on it. I tell you. So you have that here. I have done a little bit.
What about? You take 221.
Okay. Sort by something. Okay, did you take that? You want to take that number out there? Yes.
Am I? That's one of my careers.
Yes. And then unselect all.
Then.
And then.
So then I will say. I need to take someone and do it. But I won't be able to take. So. You leave on.
I do, yes, I'm an RA and okay, just want to be driving.
So when do you come?
I usually just knock out homework and other. Most I spend on contacts. I'm sure that will change. But is it something, have you already come up with cross with you don't know how to do it, or are you just trying to plan it?
Okay, so I tried my hand on homework in class last week. I was able to do it.
Yes.
But then it's still limiting, there are things that I need to know my own. Like to follow,
No, so
so that whenever I'm in class, I will be able to assess things easily and.
Yes. So I don't know. I'm not gonna say I got mine in my 101.
Oh, it's, yeah, go ahead and put the next
Expert, as I were to teach you, we would kind of just relearning it myself as well. I'm not the most qualified for that, I would say. I would have no problem here and there. I would recommend.
Okay, so now it says it was.
Like what she recommends is actually, there's a document where she's who I took MI1.
Beginning balance,
And there's a red course.
so my ending balance was that,
videos on.
and my change
To do something.
I just subtract that from that.
She, yeah, it was mostly just,
Absolutely.
Oh, I got.
No, don't worry.
over like certain projects, like specific assignments rather than very broad things, however. I'm sure there's some very good.
You've already got it, we've already got it.
For like learning. What? Honestly, I would work that. So, you know,
Maybe I do, but I'm not. sure that it's-
okay, like you think you can figure it out.
I can't.
Okay, I would recommend looking up like Excel for beginners. And there's like 20-minute videos. That was 2 hours.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that, they're probably mind numbing. But you just look. I think it's like
Okay, and this is what I said, check.
I
It's not even in town.
it would probably help you out a lot more than that.
Okay.
Now, if you see me, or like you want to meet up at some point and you have like specific questions, or like I'm trying to look for something. I have no problem. That being said, I am not the most qualified. Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe like.
It's way better. Figure it out. I'll figure out next problem.
That's the next big one. It's like.
Oh, no, I know you do. When I saw the first Excel problem that we had today, I dropped it. I said, I'm not doing it. I'll do this for Carson. So they said, I'll figure out what the class was saying. This one.
Oh, I have all.
Yeah, I'm surprised we're going to this man, where this is.
Go ahead and just take this.
Luckily, I mean, it's nice to put some instructions out.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know nothing about these, so, yeah.
I apologize, you have a little bit there,
Maybe I
but
should.
so just send me an email and I'll make sure you get points.
Okay.
But more importantly, I want to make sure that we don't have school on Monday. But this is like not a big deal, so, by the time we get to.
Sounds good, thank you.
Over? Okay.
I just had a question about. I just had a quick question about the handout. So are we, are supposed to be doing these and pulling these out?
It really depends on you. I'm gonna do some of that in Monday's, I think I have Monday's classes to kind of explain them. But this class is also set up where a student could take it fully online if you want to, because I teach it fully online, and so I just share all the information there. And for those students who take that, you go through chapter and do your notes and things like that, what's important. But I am going to do the examples, or at least some examples from each of those chapters when I have Monday's classes. So right now, so we're broken up. So next Wednesday, I'm gonna do some examples off that first one, and then some off chapter 2.
Okay, yeah, I just wasn't sure if this was something I needed to like.
It really
fill
depends
out
on
and then
your.
turn in for a
No,
grade
no,
somewhere.
absolutely not.
So I'll focus on the homework.
This is just for learning, like if you're reading and going through someone, sometimes it'll point out important areas to take notes. Chapter 1's not very good, I gotta redo it,
Okay,
but other ones are good.
thanks, Professor.
You're welcome. Which one?
Dave. Nice to meet you.
It's just, I read the book, I read the part twice, and then like, and I also kind of like, I also read it for another class while the number is just cheaper in the morning, so. I'm not saying so you would, that's.
Correct.
I apologize, Dr. Fitzgerald, so like, if I get any of these questions wrong, I get lose points. 'Cause-
No. No, this is called a pretest. And so how this works is it's going to assess your knowledge based on how you read the chapter. If you miss a question in a couple of areas, what it will do is on your next part of the assignment, it will focus on your learning in those areas. So it's a trainer type of thing, whereas it won't spend a lot of time on what you already know. It will spend a little more time on things that you don't know. So you just want to be honest with it here and do the best that you can.
I apologize, Dr. Fitzgerald, it's not my first word.
You know, I'm here to help all my students.
This probably.
So which of the following will not consider the
Like, so-
going-concern concept for accounting purposes?
So it would probably be this one, because I think like growing concern would much be like, if they're gonna be going for a long time.
Will not consider the going concern for accounting purposes.
So notice that would be only for a short while, so the,
Yeah, it was.
okay, I apologize.
No, don't apologize. We're.
So then I'm like, I think I'm proposing it's at least between either A or B, but if you tell me what issue.
An initial issue of 10,000 shares, $2. In the cash society.
So it would be fine. Okay. Internal stakeholder, probably, so.
So think about what they mean by internal. Internal to what?
To the business, like.
Correct. So what's inside the business?
Manager. So, yeah. That's incorrect.
Well, I think given that's what, given the answer choices, that's what it is that we're supposed to be doing.
So,
Well, what's the accounting equation?
so it's assets equals liabilities plus samples.
Right.
So. What do you
They're calling it weird, but it's the statement of financial condition, which is actually the balance sheet. They're giving it a legal name.
and so. Solvents. That's not a good channel, it's just,
I don't think it is. I think it's.
let me go back. And, all right,
It
so,
might be, solvency, I think is long term, but can't remember. Go ahead, and then so you tell it. Once you're still working. I'm not gonna go through all of them with you because I don't want you to do it, but you tell it you're done.
I apologize.
And so it tells you now, you've got 100% in those areas. And, you know, you've got a little bit in that area, so you would,
You know, folks can-
so then you would submit the assignment for grading.
So, let me guess, I lose points.
I don't think so. I think if you do it all, I think it gives you a thing. Let me see what it says.
So,
Go ahead, yeah.
I apologize. but
Continue, oh, say, try continue taking. I don't know where it's going. Is there a next?
It says save next thing. That's the
Is there, scroll up and see if there's something missing.
first.
In first score, there you go. So you got a 92. So it did mark you down for those, but if you go back and you click and quiz yourself, you'll up that grade and you'll get it to 100.
So do I just need to keep on doing this until?
If you want 100 on it, that's what you would need to do. But you can see the more you get right on the front end, the less questions you have on the back.
I'm a little confused here by this question. It says, what was the original cost of the investment that North Mankato Corporation sold this year? I'm not sure which one of these. I'm looking at sum of gain and or loss on sale of asset and sum of sale investments.
Right, so you sold investments for $164,000.
Right, now I gotta figure out what the original.
No, so you know, because you have a gain or loss, right? Your cost, if I have $100 and I pay for a car for $100 and I sell it for 95,
Yeah.
I have a $5,000 loss. All they're doing is telling you what you had first, so I mean, at the end. So it's on you. You sold it for that, you just subtract the gain. or
Okay,
the loss
that's what I
away.
was assuming. So I take the 184, 270 and I subtract the.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. Or.
Sounds good.
What's the original cost?
I'm just still just trying to figure out how this math works. So in here, it's 30.
327,000, okay. So last at the end of the year, the return on assets for the year is 16%. What is its net income?
So how many calculate that?
So it's telling you,
I am almost off to a good child. It's just, this is my
ROI, right? Equal your net income divided by your average total assets.
Oh, wait, so I have to divide?
So you have ROI as some percentage, I'm just putting in 10. And then you got your average total assets down here, right? So now what you would do is multiply, so whatever your ROI percentage. And you would multiply that times your average total assets. And that'll give you your answer.
So.
Familiarize yourself with that ROI formula.
I apologize. So how do I find the bottom part of that?
Hold on, so they have to give it to you, right? It says total assets at the beginning of the year are 327. At the end of the year, they're that. So you have to add them up
Oh,
and then divide by 2 to get the average.
Doing stats in this class is fascinating because they got rid of the quantitative method of business analytics.
Well, they shouldn't really be stats per se.
Right.
This should just be algebra.
Yeah.
okay, so after I do that, so then I multiply by 0.6.
Correct.
0.6. So 5, 1, so. Okay, so I'm closing, okay, so there's. That's on 3 minutes.
Yes, we saw them do with track cancer. I gave it on. That's good. Take care, Dave. Thank you.
So.
I think so.
So the first one. So I said liquidity with the beverage. Because I thought it would be like rarely converted to cash. Because it could be converted like liquid.
So refers to the degree to which a company has cash or assets. Yeah, I would say, did you select liquidity last
I
time?
propose I do, but okay, wait,
I was
I'll just check and see if I would. I'll say.
No, it's okay. We don't-
Not bother, I can't see it. Wait, you know something else? No, bother, that's not it. Okay. So, okay, well, wait, what was the other? So, okay. Okay, so it's. Okay, so that's the. So insert, so. Oh, okay, so pharmaceutical scrap, so it's just this one, you figure out, okay, let me get back to it. So wait. Long-term steps, okay, so pharmaceutical scrap, so just have to figure it out, so just. Yeah. Right, so.
Yeah.
Resume this is the image, so resume this. Please let it. Oh, good, okay. So first thing agree to which a company has cash. So we can, so liquidity, I don't think it can because I think we already have that, so.
Try it, and see what it says.
So just press.
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. Yeah, so wait, is that it?
That's
it. Okay, so say anyway, so do I just need to press and assign it for grade?
That's it.
All right, so sorry. Okay. So, okay, so. All right, so if it's 100 in all the areas here, so that would mean it's all.
Yep.
All right, I apologize, okay, so I just want to fall for it to wait, because I didn't really, I read the book twice, and it's just the chapter twice, so it's just.
These are assignments that you can continue to work on too, so don't worry.
So, okay,